Well, hello, my fellow Earthlings. How's everyone doing on planet Earth? A little bit crazy, huh? So, I think for a lot of people, it's good that we have, social media platforms where we can still remain, in isolation, but still have community thought groups. And it is interesting. I think you see the progress of discussions, and I think more and more people are becoming a little bit maybe awake of agendas or what's really going on, in the world, and is the policy of lockdown the only policy they could have chosen? Could have things been done differently? Some people say hindsight will look back, and I think I've always said this: history will probably not judge kindly some of these lockdown policies that have destroyed the economy and could lead to depression. But I think foresight is always much better than hindsight, and we could go all day about what should have been done and what shouldn't be done. I have my opinions, my beliefs, no doubt you do, and no doubt everyone on the internet. What I think we really must think about, it's good that we are interested in politics and policies. Obviously, it affects us all, but certain things are outside our control, so that's why a lot of people are frustrated. So I want to really, encourage people, let's also spend perhaps more time on focusing on what we do control, because if you do want more influence in this world, whether you like Bill Gates or not, he has $100 billion, so he can exert his influence on the world and on the World Health Organization and on certain vaccine agendas, etc. Now, whether you agree with his influence or agree with what his policy agendas may be or not, he has a large amount of money, so he has a large amount of influence and ability to do that. So unless we're going to collectively become worth billions of dollars, then our influence as an individual is somewhat limited. However, if we become upwardly more mobile financially, as a collective group of people, we can still have significant influence on the planet. And this is one of the reasons for the last 2 decades I've been very dedicated to developing financial abundance, because you get to X amount of creating a lifestyle where you can have enough money so you don't have to be preoccupied with material survival, ironically, so you can have the freedom to work from home, and you can focus more and more of your energy on trying to make a difference in the world, whether that's in your local community or with your helping your family. Initially, some of my goals was to be able to send my parents overseas on the first overseas trip, and you're fortunate enough to be able to travel the world, many times, buy your parents a car or just help out your family. That's the beginning. But then how do you make a difference on a bigger scale in the community? Or how do you fund, maybe a political party as an example? Or how do you fund an independent news site as an example to try and create influence? How do you research and understand what's really going on behind the world, and what are these agendas and conflicting agendas? That helps you understand, for studying history, has helped me be able to predict the future a lot more. And that's why I have a greater framework, I guess, than most people, to be able to know what is going on in the world and what's likely to happen. Not because anyone has a crystal ball, but simply because if you know a little bit about history of certain industries or history of what's really going on in the world, it just gives you greater insight into the future. But we can only spend so much time talking about, different conspiracy theories or different hypotheses of, what's really going on with the coronavirus, etc. But there is a danger too that if we spend too much of our time on that and neglect our own personal situation, then how do we have time to grow a business or grow our career? So I really want to just challenge everyone. It's good that we care about the bigger picture, and we certainly must have a voice in that, and collectively we must do that. But I think if we're really going to be able to influence the world on a greater scale, we're going to have to get rich ourselves to make sense. And collectively, the more money you have, and collectively more money we all have together, then the greater chance we have of being a force for good. And, I did some research on, for some of you who don't know my background, I've been an educator for 2 decades. I've written a dozen different books. My first book was What I Didn't Learn at School But Wish I Had. And that's what I've been doing for 2 decades, is helping not only, learn the things I learned myself to become independently wealthy, but I've helped a lot of other people become wealthy. And, we don't know exactly how many millionaires we've created in the last 20 years, but, we're looking at, thousands and thousands of them, especially in Australia. It hasn't been that complicated. I just encourage people to invest in real estate, 10, 20 years ago. And the average person that followed through on that, many of them already become a millionaire, as an example. And most of my clients made a majority of the money, by the way, out of real estate, some out of stocks, but and also out of businesses. Students that have built businesses worth tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. So collectively, I think they did an assessment in the last 20 years. We've helped our clients generate between $2 and $5 billion in wealth collectively. So we're not quite up to the 100 billion Bill Gates has been able to create, but just that network that I've been able to create with my community around Australia, New Zealand, and 17 other countries means that collectively together, we can make some influence to some degree. But if we could increase our net worth each a lot more and be more proactive with being activists and philanthropists, then we could obviously make a much bigger difference. But until we do that, we can talk all we want on social media, but our influence will still be somewhat limited unless we take charge. So here's what I'm going to suggest. We may not agree with lockdown policies as creating a recession could lead to a depression if they don't soon get the lockdown out of the way. But there's a lot of opportunities to make a lot of money right now. Actually, probably more opportunity to make money right now than there was, 5, 6, 7 weeks ago before this coronavirus really took place. So I really want to direct your focus to that. So how can we go about making that money? So what should you be looking for? Well, you've got plenty of time on your hands for many of you. So use that time wisely and get educated. Business education, financial education, investment education, psychology, strategic thinking, peak performance, and looking for trends. And I'll share and I'll keep you updated with some of the trends. It's ironic that I've, one of the projects we're working on, I partnered with Eric Bailey, and licensed my education I have from over 30 different speakers, including people like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sir Richard Branson, Tim Ferriss for our work week, and many of these successful people that have had lecture on the stage at 20th Century Education to create 21st Century University, which is ironically an online subscription business. Now, that was already being planned before we heard of the coronavirus, but it's funny how, prepared plannedness, you can take advantage of opportunity, because guess what? Businesses right now, due to the coronavirus, are absolutely booming. Internet businesses, online businesses. Look how many people Amazon has hired, 100,000 people, a month ago, and they're just hiring another 75,000 people. So, look at Woolworths, look at bottle shops, look at certain businesses that are absolutely booming. So out of this, many businesses are being forced to pivot and restructure their business. A lot of them will end up becoming stronger than they were before. Now, admittedly, a lot of businesses will never reopen. They're being, destroyed. They're gone. And I feel sad for those people. But once again, if you're in that situation, focus on what you can control. What good can come out of this situation? It's never what happens to us, it's how we respond to what happens. So I want you to start thinking about where the opportunities lie. Now, I'll give you a big clue. Online businesses is where it's going to be at. Many people also will be able to work from home ongoing, okay? Admittedly, you want to go on holiday first and get the fuck out of your house for a while and maybe have some socializing again, have some parties. I miss them too. But let's take advantage of this opportunity. So certainly online subscription-based businesses as well. And how many sectors can tap into that? How many businesses before this were already doing well and that they're now booming? With advertising right now, Facebook, so cheap to advertise. So if you don't have an online business, how can you get access to one or take advantage of the rights to one? For instance, we were about to open offices globally before this started, doing deals with WeWork and service offices to open them up as many countries as possible and hire consultants part-time, because we realized a lot of people wanted a side hustle. We didn't necessarily want to employ people or contract them full-time, because if they have a second income, then they don't have to have the fear and panic, oh my God, I hope this works. They can come and work 3-4 hours a day. And in that time, we believe they could produce more output than they would working full-time for someone else. But because we couldn't open these offices because of the coronavirus, we said, how can we restructure that opportunity so people can work from home? And so that's the other thing that we've taken advantage of, is that we've been able to now create a home-based business or an online business where people can have an online subscription-based business which they can market around the world and be taught and trained on that. So if you want to find out more about what we're doing in there, we're happy to help you or give you that opportunity. So I'll give you some links to that afterwards. But I'm just giving you some ideas of industries that will boom. The other one, which is ironic as well, a startup. I don't spend too much time in startup. It's a startup that I was investing in myself, which is taking all the experience I've had in the last few years, probably last 5-6 years of Airbnb and holiday letting, and small and management plays, doing testing properties and mansions, etc., and apartments right around the world, is that a hotel play. Hotels are going to be a massive opportunity. There's going to be massive trends in that. Many hotels won't reopen, but there's an opportunity, and that's ironically. This is a startup I was working on, planning on doing before the coronavirus, but because of the coronavirus lockdown, I could probably achieve in that what would have took 5 or 10 years to achieve in probably 5 or 10 months. That opportunity exists. So, for instance, the potential to build $1 billion company in that industry now is actually more easier than it would have been before this. So what I'm trying to highlight is there is massive opportunity that wasn't there before. And that's why you see out of a crisis, just think back to the dot-com era, 2001, around then, when a lot of the companies that survived the dot-com crash, about today. Google, Amazon, some of these companies come out of that survived, where many failed. Just like now, what's going on is that many great businesses will come out of this. So what can you do to start thinking about, well, yes, we may not be happy with what's going on in the world. We may not agree with this. We are aware there's certain agendas and wish everyone could see what we can see. What can we do to get wealthy? Because ultimately, one of my earliest mentors said, Jamie, you can't help the poor by being one of them. And if you really care about changing, shaping this planet, while you're on this planet before you depart, and I tell you, it's going to be much easier to get rich. And collectively, if you help other people around you get rich, because then you can have a network, like I've created, as I said, a network of my followers that have built between $2 to $5 million in net worth. And that's just starting. Now what we're planning with the education I'm putting online with, some of our clients used to pay up to $15,000 for, we put online now for $59. So as an example, so now globally, we can actually empower and educate a massive following that can help a lot of people. And out of that, I believe, and I've always said that, if we can help enough people to do well, then I can help enough people to overcome material preoccupation with material survival, so each and all of us can focus on how do we make a bigger difference to the world, even small way or big way. And so that's one of the driving forces why I've always wanted to continue to grow my wealth and help other people. And that's why I want you to start focusing on that. What can you do right now to start looking for opportunity and take this economic lockdown, economic disaster for many, and make it an economic windfall for you? I'll talk to you more about it, but I hope that helps. But let's get focused on what we can control. Talk to you soon.